Welcome to the Rude Dog Show. This is Rudy Reyes. Man, I wish that opener worked, but it doesn't. Thank you for joining me tonight live on Sideline Sports Network. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Hot off the press, when you're talking about what happened today in Major League Baseball, I want to dive into this for just a minute, only because, of course, as you probably noticed, my favorite team is the Pirates, all things Pittsburgh, but the Pirates themselves with Bednar closing it out, won this game in beautiful fashion, closeout fashion, 2-1, sweeping the St. Louis Cardinals at PNC Park. That was a great game. It was wonderful to see. And Bednar, just a rock star, absolute rock star there on the mound. Of course, they had to do some maintenance earlier in the game in order to get that mound to look exactly how it needed to look, like a baseball mound. So while they were doing that, he was warming up, I'm sure, and plenty enough time to get that done. Now let's shift into gears here. I want to talk about this Game 2 at Ball Arena between the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat. More importantly, this is really about the Miami Heat and how they brought that Heat culture into Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado at 5280 degrees high. It was an amazing game. Now, mind you, Miami had led this game extremely early, but it was how they led. It was the missed opportunities by the Denver Nuggets, not being able to get the ball in when they should. Inside the iron, rather, and more importantly, it's about momentum. It's about the swing. When you miss enough shots, as any NBA team knows from the onset of the game, it certainly sets a tempo, at least in the first quarter of the game. And there were so many superstars that went along with that, with Adebayo, 26 and 13, 5 assists. He was an absolute beast. Gabe Vincent, 19 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists. Jimmy Butler contributed as well, 13, 7 and 7, not quite triple-double for him, but a double for Adebayo. And then Caleb Martin came off of the bench. Not a starter. Kevin Love ended up getting the start, but Kevin Love also had a certain amount of damage that he laid on to the Denver Nuggets. And look at this game, and we see the momentum shift in the swing. And, of course, Eric Spoelstra, people know him as Spo, recognized that Cody Zeller down the stretch in the third quarter certainly wasn't getting it done. He was much more of a liability than he was a playmaker with early fouls. Now, with that being said, there's so many different moving parts when you're talking about the Denver Nuggets and the fact that this is their first playoff loss at home, but it was about how they lost. It was about just not making the baskets when they counted. Transition defense was there, but it was the steals by the Miami Heat, I think, was part of that story overall. And it was good to see these guys, Vincent Butler, Martin, and Adebayo, really having the time of their life. When you're talking about a Game 2, it was a must-win. They didn't want to go back to Miami being down 0-2, so they certainly came back in Ball Arena, as I stated, as a first loss for the Denver Nuggets in postseason in quite some time. Now, with that being said, Nikola Jokic, he had a fantastic game, 27, 10, 14 points. Jamal Murray, 26, 6, and 10. It was really about the turnovers. It wasn't about who did it. It was about how they did it. And the Denver Nuggets certainly are not a team that's going to take this line down. They're going to end up finding themselves in Miami, having a conversation amongst themselves. I'm sure they're having a conversation right now and maybe answering some questions at the podium in regards to how they lost. And I was listening to some pregame chatter just the other day about how, and this is during warm-ups for practice, that Nikola Jokic decided to take part in, like they all do, right, as a practice in between days and games. He had 2 days off in between Game 2. Now, what's interesting about that is he says he's going to try to make Adebayo look a little uncomfortable. He did for the most part, and Adebayo had his share of fouls as well. But it was really about the opposite being true. Adebayo certainly making the Joker look a little bit uncomfortable in regards to being sure of his shot. But there's just, again, he is a one-of-a-kind player in the Joker, and I think to myself, this guy has just got the finesse. He's got the touch. He has I guess I call it a love shot, whether he's doing it from the top of the key or he's doing it inside with the little touch that he has. Being Serbian and having all those things going for him, along with his just raw athleticism and his ability to drive the lane and get others into foul trouble, certainly something that you can't remiss and say to yourself, well, he's just a one of a kind. This is a a lucky shot or a lucky play or a lucky game that he's a part of. No, this guy is fluid throughout. He's like an ocean, a body of water that certainly has everything going for him because that has that kind of motion and that touch is just undeniably good. There are some role players in this game as well. Bruce Brown came off of the bench. He had contributed 10 points, 5 rebounds, as well as 2 assists. Jermichael Green, 4 and 1. And Braun didn't get any points, but a rebound and an assist as well. So it wasn't like the Nuggets just laid this one down. I mean, the Heat scored 20 in the first, 22 in the second, 21st in the third, and 4 fourth quarters where really the hammer was really dropped at a 10-point differential. Ended up winning this game 104 to excuse me, that was game 1. So Denver led it in that manner. So one thing about what I liked from both of these guys is the fact alone that when you look at this, when you look at the matchup, there's certainly a lot of things to desire, a lot of would-be opportunities for a lot of different guys. 108, 111 was your final there. It was just a 3-point spread. It's not as if, again, this was a laydown game by the Denver Nuggets whatsoever. 26 and 1, 25 in the second, 24 in the third, 36 points in the fourth quarter. Again, that's that hammer that dropped. It's not like Denver didn't try or they gave up on this game because they didn't. But again, this is really about how you win the game. It's about turnovers, about transitional offense, transitional defense, getting back when you need to, the speed you need to. But again, it was Miami on the steals. It was about the stealing, getting your hands inside of would-be passers, would-be shooters, tapping the ball away, executing on the other end, no miscues on the slam dunks or the 2-point layups off the glass. Whatever that was, Miami Heat certainly had a lot of it, and it was very fluent in this game, which I think turned the tides in regards to that. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on Sideline Sports. Don't be follow at Rude Dog Reyes on Twitter. Throw them a follow as well at Sideline Sports on Twitter. Go to TheRudeDogShow.com. Find a lot of great interviews, conversations, and of course, everything and anything from different events, Super Bowls, you name it, you can find it there on TheRudeDogShow.com. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Rude Dog Show as well. I certainly appreciate those views, those ads, those likes. Also, great interviews, great conversations with a lot of great and wonderful players, past and present. Guys like TJ Ward, Cam Hayward, Jim Everett, Brian Baldinger, NFL Network. I mean, there's just so much to love on TheRudeDogShow.com. So check it out. I certainly appreciate it. I can't wait for game 3. And it's going to be, I think, a very similar layout between starters. Whether or not you see Caleb Martin starting in the lineup, that remains to be seen. And Tyler Hero, I think the bigger question for him is, will he be cleared? I know that Mark Jackson made a reference in regards to that's a Tyler Hero kind of play. Well, you can't really mention a player when he's not on the court to make that call because he's not on the court to make that play. So you can't call something that's not on the floor, but that's Mark for you. That's what he does. And that's okay. There's so many keys to this game. I think Tyler Hero is going to have another look at it as well. I love Duncan Robinson's play. He also has that touch from 3. And I think, look, for both of these teams, they have those players. They have the role players. And they have the guys who can hit from 3. They guys that can hit from the perimeter. And this is going to boil down to 6. I'm going to say this right off the bat. And I'm not a betting person whatsoever. I can't even imagine the spread on this game, first of all. Second of all, it's really about who's going to get the last shot, who makes the fewer amount of mistakes, who's going to turn the ball over less, who's going to execute solid passing, playing someone so hard but not drawing a foul from that. Those are all mistakes. If either one of these teams can really get away from that, you're going to get calls. You may not get your call, but you'll end up getting calls collectively throughout any given game. I can guarantee it. You're going to see that happen throughout this series. But when you can win this game, it's just at 108, 111, there's just so much to like about this series. And I'm going to say Denver wins this in 6. and they win it on their home court. 2 games at Ball, 2 games in Miami, goes back to Denver, and they'll end up pulling it off for their first NBA title. Now, I could be wrong about that, and that's okay. It wouldn't be the first time I've been wrong about something. It's not going to be the last time that I'm wrong about something as well. But make sure you throw me a follow on Twitter. I just wanted to jump on here real quick. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I certainly appreciate it. I'll let you get back to your regularly scheduled program, whatever that is. But thank you for tuning in. I certainly appreciate it, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in.